All right, today we're on chapter 26, and I'm going to go ahead and read 2 chapters today also, so we can finish by your last day next week. All right, chapter 26, Partners in Crime. There'd been an odd silence after I turned in my paper and took my seat. I wondered if it was because they were surprised by what I'd written, or because they'd never heard me say so many words in a row before. The rest of the presentation had been passable, but no one else had gotten Mr. Newton to make that bug-eyed stare. I think he was warming up to me. I kicked rocks on the way back to St. Drago's, my mind on magic rings and being nice and making friends. Before Francie, my brothers had been my only friends. Friends that would duct tape you to the lamppost and leave you there, but at least they would laugh about it. About you. Maybe I needed to rethink what a friend does. Gravel crunched behind me, and Francie in her bouncing red curls sidled up next to me. I liked your essay, Bernice, she said. Her face was serious as a heart attack, so I figured she wasn't making fun of me. I smiled a little. Thanks. I'll tell you a secret, though. I already think you're a nice person. I snort laughed. I mean it. You don't always do nice things or say nice things, but I'm sure that on the inside you're thinking nice things, right? The short answer to that would be no, and Francie didn't even know half of the super mean stuff that old Bernice had done. But since she was the only person in the running for being my friend, I let it go. She smiled. Hey, you want to do something fun? I had a million more emails to send out about St. Drago's action movie night, but fun sounded like fun. What do you have in mind? Do you got a quarter? The two of us went to the halfway Central Park and found a sunny patch of walking trail, and that's where we glued all the change money we'd found in Francie's couch, because of course I didn't have a quarter. Then we hid in the bushes and watched people get excited about finding a whole pile of dropped money, only to find a whole lot of minutes bent over trying to pick it up. Only to spend a whole lot of minutes bent over trying to pick it up. We rolled in hysterics, trying not to make a sound. I wondered if tricking people might fall into a category of stuff old Bernice would do, but every time I looked over at Francie, smiling and laughing like we were for real friends, I decided minor pranks were a small price to pay. When stuck to the ground money got boring, we snuck into school, which wasn't hard. All the doors were still unlocked for after-school clubs and stuff. Francie kept watch while I set all the clocks forward an hour. New Bernice didn't feel the slightest bit bad about that one because it didn't even count as breaking and entering. There would just be some head scratching involved, and that seemed harmless enough. Then we went back to the Abbey and Googled stuff. What makes horse drool? How far it is to the center of the earth? Who's the richest woman in the world? When our fingers were tired of typing and our sides hurt from laughing, we went to the Dairy Queen and had dipped ice cream cones, Francie's treat. We decided to take them down to the creek, even though it was still cold outside. The January sky was dark blue and the clouds puffed white. The wind turned our cheeks pink, but the ice cream tasted too good to stop eating, even when our teeth started to chatter. The creek made a happy sound that reminded me of a baby gurgling. I've lived in Halfway my entire life, and I don't think I've ever had so much fun as I did today. Francie zipped up her jacket to block the wind. I smiled. The coins and clocks were kid stuff compared to the capital T trouble me and my brothers could get into, but it was fun hanging out with Francie, no matter what we were doing. It was nice to have a partner in crime. She ate the last bit of her cone. Mr. Jenkins is going to freak out when he walks in tomorrow morning and thinks he's an hour late. He'll figure it out when he looks at his watch. Still pretty funny, though. My comb was gone too, so I crumpled the paper into a ball and stuffed it in my pocket. She stared out at the water. So, do you miss your home and your family and stuff? Mama, Buttman Brothers, moldy couch? I guess a little. But you aren't going back, right? You're going to stay in Halfway. I remembered Mama's joke about me becoming a nun and living here forever. Was that what I wanted? I wasn't sure. Definitely no to the becoming a nun part. There were a lot of good things about living in Halfway. Francie might be one of them, and it was all going to go by so fast, just like the stream rushing by in a blur of brown near our shoes. My time here in Halfway slipped away faster than I could catch it. Probably not. I don't know. No sense in her worrying about it, but Mama had said that after action movie night, she'd come take me back to the Lone Star. I wondered if my bank account would at least have enough money to pay the deposit for camp by then. Chapter 27, Betting on All the Bananas. February blew in cold and wet. My riding lessons earlier that day had included fat raindrops melting down my spine, so I was grateful for the warm glow of St. Drago's kitchen. The nuns were gathered around the table, but instead of eating dinner, they were playing cards. I'll see your Chiquita and raise you a Rio. Aunt Josephine slid something small across the tabletop without taking her eyes off Sister Marie Frances. I squinted at the pile of paper ovals. What are those? Banana stickers. The two speaking nuns barked at the same time, studying each other furiously for a crack in their perfect poker faces. I snort laughed. My brothers play with beer bottle caps. They're a lot easier to come in by the trailer park than in an abbey, though. Sister Marie Frances held her cards close to her chest. Sister Angela Clarence has a collection of over 15 different brands. She started saving them when she lived in Mexico. Shoot, I didn't even know the silent old nun had lived in Mexico. It was hard to get to know someone who only talked in book quotes. It's not like the Grimm brothers who had ever started a fairy tale with, remember those years I lived in Mexico? Quit stalling and show us what you got, Josephine said, and all the nuns slapped their cards down at the same time. Two of a kind, said Sister Marie Frances. Full house, Aunt Josephine crowed. We all turned to look at the fan of cards Sister Angela Clarence had slid across the table. What? I asked. What happened? Royal flush? How does she keep doing that? Sister Marie Frances griped. Every dang time, my aunt said. The sisters grudgingly gathered up the deck while Sister Angela Clarence put the ovals in a neat pile. She beamed at me and waggled her eyebrows. Deal me in, I said. My aunt looked at me skeptically. Do you have any banana stickers? You got to have something to ante up with. I walked over and peeled 6 Chiquita labels off the browning bananas on the counter. Chiquitas are the most common, therefore worth the least. Think of them like pennies, Sister Marie Frances said. On second thought, don't think of them like pennies, because then this might be considered gambling. Think of them as trash you'd throw away and don't care about at all. Aunt Josephine nodded in agreement. Okay, so I have 6 Chiquitas to wager. Not wager, play with, Sister Marie Frances interrupted. I flared my nostrils. Play with. My aunt shuffled. That's wonderful, dear. The loser has extra kitchen duty for a week. I gulped. I only barely knew how to play poker. This is a 5-card stud. Deuces are wild. Everybody in, Aunt Josephine said. We all slid 1 Chiquita sticker into the pile in the middle. Well, they slid theirs. Mine stuck to my finger, and I had to peel it off and stick it to the table. All the other stickers had been stuck to paper and carefully cut out. These chicks were serious about their non-gambling poker chips. Josephine dealt each of us one card face down. I peeked at mine. It was a 3. Not the best start. Everyone pushed 1 more banana sticker into the pile. The next round was passed, and then the next. I now had a 3, an ace, and a 2. Ace 2 3 was some kind of a straight, right? Round 4 gave me another ace, so at least I had a pair. The nuns were only betting 1 Chiquita apiece, and no one upped the ante because they wanted to be able to stay in the game. If everyone raised, I'd have to fold because I only had a few stickers left. In the last round, I got another 2 pair, and a 3. It was too late to cheat, and I wouldn't know exactly how, but I couldn't help scowling at the look of triumph at Aunt Josephine's face as she displayed her hand. I've got a straight. Sister Angela Clarence had not fared as well this round. She'd only gotten 2 of a kind. I plopped my 2 pairs down, prepared to be stripped of my hard-earned banana stickers. You've got 4 of a kind. Aunt Josephine's mouth sagged open. Just 2 pairs. Deuces are wild, sweetie. Add those to your pair and you win the whole shebang. Sister Marie Frances looked pleased that at least it wasn't Sister Angela Clarence adding to her sticker pile. My aunt pouted. Beginner's luck. 2 out of 3, I said, and Sister Marie Frances grinned as she scooped the deck together and started shuffling. It'll be much harder to keep that poker face when you actually know the rules. We played a few more rounds, each of us taking the pot at least once. Aunt Josephine scrunched her eyebrows at her hand and spoke without looking up from her cards. If we don't raise the money, if the Abbey has to close, what will you do, Marie Frances? I gulped. I didn't want to think about the Abbey closing. I'd ask to be resigned, I guess. Imagine that, a whole new Abbey and a whole new batch of old broads to get used to. My aunt laughed and raised by 2 Chiquitas. It'd be like trying to be grafted into a whole new family, wouldn't it? Now that was something I could understand. We all looked at Sister Angela Clarence and tried to picture her living in a new place with new people. What if they didn't know she liked the skin peeled off her apples? What if they didn't let her keep the temperature up just a little too high? And what if they didn't recognize her book quotes? She would lose her home and her family and her voice. I placed my cards face down, folding because they mostly stunk, but I would not give up on saving St. Drago's. I was going to raise that money so the nuns could keep their home. We all groaned when we realized we'd lost yet another hand to Sister Angela Clarence. She scooped up her winnings, smiled, and said, My mom says some days are like that. Winnie the Pooh? Aunt Josephine asked, no one in particular. I remember sitting on Mama's squishy lap, helping her turn pages in a beat-up picture book. I think it's from Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Used to be one of my favorites. Sister Angela Clarence smiled and tapped her nose like I've gotten it right on the nose. I decided to forgive her for kicking our heinies at poker and taking all our loot, especially because her future home and happiness all rode on the success of my wacky fundraiser. It was like Aunt Josephine could read my mind. People all over town are excited about St. Drago's action movie night. It was a stroke of genius, Bernice. She dealt what she promised would be the very last hand of Texas Hold'em. I smiled. Statistically, I was bound to have a good idea at one point in my life. She didn't take her eyes off her cards. Well, I'm glad I was here to witness it. I grinned and bet all my banana stickers on my hopefully winning hand.